I teach a 3D printing class at my school, and so I try different things to get the students to think outside the box, to try something new, to push things maybe a little bit further, to see what you can do. Take something that somebody already make it better, maybe make something from scratch. And so I decided to take it to the next level. I decided to use a program called Polycam, which is available on a PC. It's also available on your phone. And Polycam is a LiDAR program that allows you to take pictures of an object and make a 3D model of it. So as you can see, there are plenty of different options. You can take hundreds of photos of a certain object from all different angles, and then you put them together and you make a 3D picture. So I took a picture of myself, my own head, and I used my watch to help me to take the pictures with my phone on a tripod. And then I took all those photos, about 150 or so or more, and dumped them into Polycam. And then I put the resolution on full, and then I isolated that image so it didn't take a picture of the room, because that's what it would do, is to make a 3D model of the room. I wanted the 3D model of my head, of course. And so I uploaded into Polycam, and Polycam does a fine job of putting it together. And I did the same thing with my kids, and I made them take pictures. I took hundreds of photos of my children, and then I put them together and put them into Polycam. Now, the photo I took of myself was my first try, and I did a terrible job of taking pictures of the top of my head, and so it looked pretty messed up. I had to do some fixing on that. But the kids, I think it looked pretty good. I think I did well. I think I got all the angles and took hundreds of photos, and I think they turned out pretty well, and so I was able to make the 3D models. The girls, I noticed the backs of their heads. I think it's the long hair. They were kind of flat, and there were some issues with that. So Mariska here has a little alfalfa thing going on top of her head. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it's just the way it worked out. Now, there are different views, and I can see what it will look like as a 3D printed model. And so it's kind of cool to take a look at and see what the pictures that you put together and that you stitch together all these hundreds of photos and see what it's going to look like once it's printed out. And you can see the back of the head here again is a little messed up. That's just, I gotta try some other things. I'm going to export these as object files, and then I'm going to use a program called Blender. There are probably plenty of other good programs to do this with, but Blender is a program that is a PC-based program, so you can't use your phone for this. And with Blender, you basically import the object file into Blender, and then you can basically manipulate this file kind of like you would with clay, like a sculptor. So you can make it a little bit bigger, you can move it around, you can shave things off like the alfalfa on the top of Mariska's head. I could close up the top of my head. I basically just manipulate the 3D model, and so I get it how I want. I can add, I can subtract, I can cut, I can smooth. There are all kinds of things I can do in order to change it to make it the way I want it. And so then I got it the way I wanted it. I even put a little base on the bottom of my picture because I 3D printed my entire head. That was the first step in this whole process. And then once I did everybody's head, did my own head, put it all together, I imported from Thingiverse, I imported a Mount Rushmore, and then I removed the faces of the presidents from Mount Rushmore, and then I duplicated what was left a couple of times to create more space, and then I added the 10 different 3D models of heads for each member of my family. And of course it was a little too big, so I had to break the model in half in the program that I'm using for my printer, Bambu Studio. And then after it printed in 2 different pieces, I was able to kind of jigsaw puzzle the thing together which was pretty smooth, really. You can see the cracks. I mean, you can see where I put it together. It's not exactly 100% perfect. It would have been nice if it was just one piece, but, the build plate is just not big enough. I wanted more detail, so I wanted it to be bigger so I could see a little bit more. And so putting it together, it really turned out quite well. Now on the back, you can see there are some issues with the crack, but it's very, very minor. And so all in all, you can see how it all put together. There are some gaps behind where I squished the president's heads and added the other heads, and so it's not perfect by any means, but I think for the most part, this turned out really, really well. I was really excited about making a 3D Mount Rushmore of my entire family. I think it turned out great. I hope my students will see this as a challenge, maybe something they can try to do. There are so many things they can work on, and hopefully I've inspired them. Good luck with your own projects. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment what you've come up with.